I was a florist. A florist? Yeah, flowers and shit. Good morning, everybody. This is Stone Gasman live from New York City. And this morning we're going to try something a little different because now that I come home at a different time every night, it might be a good idea maybe to knock out like 90-minute movies like 1 o'clock in the morning. So that's essentially what I'm doing with this very first commentary for a I hesitate to use the word classic because the truth of the matter is, even if it spawned six sequels, I hesitate to call it a classic, even though everybody will argue, well, it doesn't matter the quality. The fact is, it spawned all those sequels. It was a massive success. Yes, we are talking about the 1984 comedy Police Academy, directed by Hugh Wilson and starring Steve Guttenberg and a bunch of familiar faces in the world of comedy in the 1980s, largely due to these films. Okay, so why am I doing a commentary for Police Academy, especially when I sound like I'm not exactly a fan, which I'm not? Well, here's the deal. I promised myself that I would do a commentary for every Lad Company release, starting with Chariots of Fire and then ending with Gone Baby Gone, directed by Ben Affleck. That's the very last Lad Company movie. We're talking about 26, 27 movies. And Police Academy happens to be one of them. Of course, the great irony is that this is a film that they desperately needed a hit on, but unfortunately, what happened is that this was the basically Alan Ladd Jr., even though he approved this project 100% and gave it to producer Paul Maslansky, and that became his baby. The truth of the matter is that Alan Ladd, known as Laddie, he was already out of the office, and everything had basically just been swallowed up by Warner Brothers at this point. Police Academy is one of the very last movies to showcase the original Lad Company logo, the one with the tree on it. Yes, and this is one of the last times we're actually going to see the logo because there would only be a few other Lad Company releases, and even then, like the sequel, their first assignment, which we're going to do tomorrow night. Let's just say, no, none of them had the Lad Company logo. It just said the Lad Company and then Police Academy 19 or whatever. So now that being said, so we're about to get started. I'm paused on the Lad Company logo about to come up here. Let me just say real quick what my experience with the Police Academy franchise is, because it's not much. The truth of the matter is that when I was a kid, it was probably about 10 or 11 years old when I started watching R-rated movies, and then I started watching silent movies, really diving into the serious nature of film and everything, and, looking at it as an art form more than a piece of entertainment. And the police, let's just say that by the time I saw my first Police Academy movie, which was number 3, Back in Training, let's just say that I was kind of bored by it. I thought that I really think that a lot of kids love these movies, but as a kid, I did not. I didn't laugh once. I only remember one bit from Back in Training, and I can't even describe it right now. So I only saw that movie, and I never saw any of the others. Finally, about 15, 20 years ago, I decided to check the first movie out of curiosity. And I told myself, look, if I like it, I'll watch the other movies. If I don't like it, then guess what? I'm not. And like Roger Ebert, who, by the way, called Police Academy one of the worst films of 1984, he said, I didn't laugh once. And I had the exact same reaction. Now, we flash forward to today. I saw it yesterday. I laughed about 5 times. Now, okay, I'm not saying that Police Academy, the original, is growing on me. And like I said, I'm going to save a lot of my criticisms for the sequel, Their First Assignment, which, like I said, will be tomorrow night at 1 a.m. But for right now, Let's go ahead and get started with the original Police Academy from 1984. Uh, and we'll start at three. Paused on the Lad Company logo with the tree. 3, 2, 1, and play. And like I said, this is one of the very last times that we see the Lad Company tree logo. This one doesn't have Steven Spielberg's music under it, unfortunately. I can't say for sure if this is the last time we see the Lad Company logo for sure, because I haven't seen some of the other 1984 films first, and they only had 2 1985 releases, including the sequel. Yeah, captioning made possible by Warner Brothers. On March 4th of this year, newly elected Mayor Mary Sue Beale announced that she is changing the hiring practices of the city's police force. No longer would height, weight, sex, education, or physical strength be used to keep recruits out of the Metropolitan Police Academy. So hundreds of people who never dreamed of becoming police officers signed up immediately. Really? Naturally, the police completely freaked. And Police Academy. I got to admit, I like the font for the title. I will say that. A Paul Maslensky production. You know, he deserves a lot of love on my part, Paul Maslensky, just because he's the guy that produced Return to Oz, which I did a commentary on last year with the producer of the documentary about Return to Oz, which you should all check out. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. Kim Cattrall in one of her very early roles right after Porky's, G.W. Bailey. So, okay. So basically, I mean, okay. I'm going to be perfectly honest. Let's just get this out of the way right now. This is one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen, and I say that with a little bit of affection and respect. I know that sounds weird, but here's the thing. There's nothing about this movie I find offensive, you know, and you know, people say, well, the only offensive joke is one that's not funny. Look, this movie was budgeted at $4.5 million, and it looks like it was a $5 million production. That, you know, no frills. You know, they just you know, filmed the script that was probably written in a weekend, and and you know, just worried about casting this goofball ensemble, essentially, who at the time probably had no idea that this was going to become a franchise and spawn 7 films. And that's why when I decided to come back to this movie, I decided to tell myself, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pretend that I'm seeing this movie in 1984 in a theater. You know, the reason why I'm going to buy a ticket to see this movie regardless. I mean, it made $150 million on a $4.5 million budget. Let's just say I went with a group of friends. I looked at it from that angle, and I thought to myself, you know what? Probably the reason why I didn't laugh once when I saw the original for the first time about 20 years ago is probably because I wasn't with a group of people. Directed by Hugh Wilson. Yes, we'll talk about Hugh Wilson, the late Hugh Wilson, a little bit later here. But I told myself, you know what? If I saw this at like a college party, you know, I'd probably laugh at it. But I don't know. The thing is, I mean, like, I remember the first time I saw this, like, okay, here's Steve Guttenberg. You know, when I first saw this, I just kind of watched the movie with an utter silence. You know, I wasn't quite bored by it, but it just kind of, I recognized what I was supposed to laugh at, and yet I wasn't laughing. Now, why is that? I mean, you know, because everybody has a different sense of humor. Humor is all subjective. You know, why is it that $150 million movie, you know, am I the only one that hasn't laughed at this? No. I mean, the truth is the critics hated it. I mean, they really shat all over this film. And you know what? I have to say, maybe a bit too harshly. Here again, I'm not coming around on Police Academy, But I've been trying to mull over for the past 24 hours since I saw this film again. Look, is there anything particularly wrong with it? No, not really. I mean, there is, dated 80s jokes that, would, they're a little bit vulgar, and at the same time, I didn't find them nearly as shocking as, some stuff in, like, say, 16 Candles or Revenge of the Nerds or even Overboard, hashtag Stockholm Syndrome. Uh, but anyway, so I guess when I first saw this, I was kind of like, oh, big deal. He's just gonna intentionally lose his job by driving this Trans Am, and I know, grab the stick out of your ass. I know, this did nothing for me. It did nothing for me. I thought that this was quite possibly one of the dumbest and yet rather inoffensive movies I've ever seen. And do I see why it made $150 million now? Kind of. Yeah. And that's the thing, is that I can barely even say this movie is kind of funny because, okay, I grew up with Leonard Maltin's video and movie guide. And the interesting thing about his movie guide when it came to these movies, he gave the original 2.5 stars, basically middle of the road. There are funny spots, there are funny moments. But for the most part, it's kind of a, just a ridiculous comedy that, you could absorb for the month and then you'll forget all about it. He was fair to it, unlike Siskel and Ebert. For the rest of the series, he gave almost every one of them bomb ratings, which was his lowest rating. The only exception was Back in Training, which he gave 1.5 stars to. Yeah, whatever. So I told myself coming in, like, obviously this franchise still has a fan base, right? Am I wrong on that? Okay, now here is Michael Winslow, which I got to admit is one of my favorite parts of at least the first Police Academy. I mean, I got to admit that some of the real laughs I had with this was because of him. Even though, I mean, that's the thing. That's his whole character. I mean, he just makes these weird noises, which after a while they become a little repetitive. Like, and they're not all funny. I mean, there are a few of them that are funny, but then again, I mean, Michael Winslow, he just seems like the nicest, coolest guy. And I'm sure that he makes a lot of people laugh, and I'm sure a lot of people love the guy. I can't complain about his talent in this movie. Some of the other actors, however, do absolutely nothing for me. It's really weird. Let me take a break real quick to say hi to people in the chat. Cliff Booth, I like this entire series, to be honest. Oh, when I was a kid, I wanted to be as big as Hightower when I grew up. And see, and that's the thing, right? I mean, if the first film doesn't work for you, obviously you're not going to check out the rest of the series, because even only seeing bits and pieces of those films, it gets sillier and sillier and sillier. And if you're not in tune to the humor at that point, whatever. Yeah, I'm sure Police Academy still has its fans. I mean, I know that they've been trying to get a reboot off the town for a number off the ground, excuse me, for a number of years. I, I probably will not see it unless it actually gets good reviews or it actually does a killing at the box office. Something tells me this IP is really dead, though. I mean, sure, you could try just releasing a new Police Academy with a new bunch of recruits and, do the Ghostbusters thing. Yeah, I'm actually thinking of those ideas. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see about that. And Rob Gasper, lovely to see you, sir. Hello, Stone. I missed that LAD logo. Always associated with Blade Runner. Yep. To me, it's actually Night Shift. But look, I mean, don't get me wrong. Everybody knows the lad logo from Blade Runner, which I still have yet to do a commentary on that. I need to watch the sequel a few more times before I'm ready for that. Blade Runner is a tough one to do because, what hasn't been said about Blade Runner, but also I don't know if I could talk about Blade Runner for 2 hours. I just don't know if I can. I'm trying to figure out a way to do it. Oh God, the station wagon of the '80s. What a trope. Okay, now when I saw this yesterday, I got to admit I didn't. All this stuff right here, I wasn't laughing. I wasn't laughing. No rational, sane person would do this, and but I will say that the joke is not a total failure because I got to admit, when I saw the station wagon drive by the car here with Kim Cattrall and her mother, I laughed. I admit I laughed. Yeah, just because I wasn't expecting it. I will admit that. I will get that's one of 5 times I laughed in this movie. But yeah, like I said, I would say probably about 80% of the humor just didn't land with me. And like I said, I just don't see it ever doing so. But because I've made a commitment to do all these Lad Company films, and like I said, the second one is actually barely a Lad Company film, as we'll find out tomorrow when I do my commentary for their first assignment at 1 a.m. Yeah. So yeah, here are all the recruits for the police academy. Absolutely. A ragtag bunch of lowlifes and losers. And yeah, I know some ordinary people too, ordinary folk who just want to do good, you know, looking at this as like an amazing opportunity. Uh, See, that's the thing. Like the first time I saw that shirt, I didn't laugh. Like, okay, I get it, but yeah, I mean, it just, it hit me like a blank slate. I mean, just like a wall. I mean, I just found this. I love it what Rich Evans said about, movies that almost feel like they're not even trying. And that's what Roger Ebert said about this movie. There are times when I feel like that they really want to create something a little edgy, but at the same time sincere. And there are other times where I feel that even if the joke didn't land, it almost felt like, okay, as soon as they say cut, that everybody's laughing their ass off. So I mean, what do I know? uh okay, so let's talk about the Goot. Yeah, the Goot. He was in 4 Police Academy movies. Until Three Men and a Baby became one of the top 10 box office hits of 1987. The same year that Police Academy 4 Citizens on Patrol came out. And at that point, he actually left the series. Now, I, I don't know. I mean, he made 4 films. I mean, you would have thought he would have just kept on going, or maybe at least like maybe even contributed a cameo. I mean, that would have been nice at least. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how Guttenberg feels about these movies. I, I mean, it's the one huge franchise that he was a part of, and yet I don't know. And everybody in the chat, maybe you can help with me on this too, because I'm not the biggest expert on this series, admittedly. And even with the research I had done, it's like, is there almost not a point to all this because these movies, you know, though they don't really lend itself to like a genuine, serious analysis. That's not why these movies were made. Uh, now, I will say that I do like George Gaines as well. He was in Tootsie, which is what I primarily remember him from. He played actually the lecherous doctor on a you know, like a general hospital type soap opera, and he wants to, you know, he basically likes to kiss and, you know, pinch women on the set. And when Dustin Hoffman comes around in drag, you know, of course he does, you know, doesn't tell it's a guy, and of course wants to kiss her. And of course Gina Davis in her film debut is like, oh yeah, he kisses all the women on the show. We call him the tongue. You know, and look, I mean, I'm glad that he got a franchise after that. And, you know, see, that's the thing. I'm sure that, you know, everybody on this in this franchise that were actors, because a lot of them were all in the same movie. I mean, there's actually, and there were cast changes, of course, but it really felt like, I mean, aside from Guttenberg being the big one in the fourth one, and I believe Leslie Easterbrook is not in the second one, but for the most part, they managed to keep a lot of the cast members. Oh, G.W. Bailey doesn't come back till 4 or 5. I do know that as well. See, I know some things. Uh, Steve was a driving force behind bringing the series back. Oh, really? Bringing the series back in terms of Mission to Moscow? Because that's really the only other, and then there was the Canadian television series, which lasted a season. But, and I mean, and that's the thing. If he wants to get in on a new Police Academy movie, I mean, I don't blame him. I mean, I'm just surprised that we haven't. Oh no, recently. Okay, yes. So yeah, sorry about that. I know what you mean now. Yeah. Oh wow. So okay, if he's the driving force behind bringing the series back, then. But let me do a quick. I thought I already looked, but what is the status of the new Police Academy movie? I know I checked a while back, and I don't remember now. Franchise future. On September 3rd, 2018, Steve Guttenberg announced that a new Police Academy film was in the works when he responded to a fan on Twitter saying the next Police Academy is coming. No details yet, but it is in a gift bag being readied. Well, if Warner Brothers, if they're smart, and Warner Brothers is going through a lot of crap right now, if Warner Brothers is smart, they will do this the right way, and, you know, probably have Steve Guttenberg as a producer, maybe even a cast member, bring as much of the original cast of characters back as possible, and then have a new set of recruits. Makes perfect sense to me. And, you know, now that I think about it, it'll probably make money because it's been a long time since Police Academy has had anything. I mean, who knows? Maybe they're dog. Yeah. So, and like I said, I've never seen 4, 5, 6, or 7. I've seen clips of them. I don't want to pay for them, to be perfectly honest. And I told myself after I do 1 and 2 that I'm probably never going to go back to this franchise ever again. That being said, I am glad I am doing a commentary for the first Police Academy, and because, like I said, I want to do this also not just as a tribute to Alan Ladd Jr., but also as a tribute to Paul Maslansky, because, like I said, I feel like that I owe him for not, you know, financially participating in this franchise. Because I'm such a Return to Oz fan, and I know this is 100 degrees different. In fact, he actually left right before post-production of Return to Oz because of the fact that this became a massive hit. A surprise hit. I think that even for Warner Brothers, they were kind of like, what the hell? This movie actually made $150 million? Yeah, it did. It did. But look, I can see why people love Steve Guttenberg. Although, to be perfectly honest, I only have one movie on Blu-ray which has Steve Guttenberg in it, and I'm not ashamed to say it's actually "Can't Stop the Music," which is the infamous 1980 musical comedy starring the Village People. Which had it come out in 1979, it probably would have done better. But as I like to as I said on Twitter, it looks like that the $20 million budget got snorted. No, no, not kidding. It's but it's not for everybody. It's you have to first of all tolerate the Village People, and second of all, I'm also a huge Valerie Perrine fan. So look, I have to own "Can't Stop the Music." I'm too much of a fan of hers not to own it. But yeah, his character in that is genuinely annoying. In fact, I'm actually a little upset that he didn't win worst supporting actor. I know I'm actually saying this, but yeah, I kind of wish the Gutenberg had won worst supporting actor for "Can't Stop the Music." He is that annoying. But he does have one great quote in it, and I will seriously. Uh, uh, oh yeah, anybody that can eat two snowballs and a ding dong, something to that effect, because there's a lot of like risque gay humor for the time. Not really, but it's a lot of fun if you go into it with the right frame of mind. It's a lot of fun, but be forewarned, the Gutenberg is rather annoying in it. Now, outside of that, I've never really been a huge fan of the Goot. Uh, that, with all due respect to him, I mean, Diner's a good movie. I mean, he's part of an ensemble in Diner. Um, I do like Cocoon. I recently rewatched Cocoon, and he's actually very good in that. In fact, he kind of makes up for the first two Police Academy movies in my book, but when he did Cocoon. Um, Not the biggest Short Circuit fan either, but you know, one of his best films is actually written and directed by Curtis Hanson, which is a Hitchcock knockoff called The Bedroom Window, which came out in 1987, the same year as Police Academy 4 and Three Men and a Baby. He also did Cocoon: The Return. He did the sequel Three Men and a Little Lady. He did Zeus and Roxanne. I actually saw Zeus and Roxanne in the theater. It wasn't terrible for a family film. I mean, about the friendship between a dog and a dolphin. No joke. And it's based on a true story. I mean, it was actually kind of cute. But outside of that, he hasn't been doing. I mean, he's been doing a lot of. He's been doing a lot of like direct to video, a lot of television stuff. I think his last big year was probably 97 when he did Zeus and Roxanne. He's been kind of out of the spotlight for that long. I mean, yeah, Sharknado 4, The Fourth Awakens. I mean, come on, really. I mean, he's kind of, man. But yeah, I've never been the biggest Gutenberg fan, I just have to say. Now, I do like Michael Winslow. And I mean, like I said, I think that Michael Winslow is one of the best parts of this franchise, period. Uh, but here again, I don't think every noise that he makes is funny. I think sometimes he's really funny. Like the squishy shoe joke. Yeah, that worked for me. Yeah, I mean, there are times when I at least expected what kind of noise he's going to make. And I think that's part of the fun with his characters, that you don't know quite what noise he's going to make. And that's the thing. He doesn't really have much of dialogue in this movie, to be perfectly honest. The only other movie that I knew him from was, of course, Spaceballs, the Mel Brooks movie, which he's actually really funny in that too. Mel Brooks said, whenever he recognizes real talent, said, I want him in that movie. When Ed Gale played Howard the Duck, he loved him so much. He says, I want Ed Gale in one of my movies. I love Mel Brooks. He's awesome. But Michael Winslow, the first movie he did was Cheech and Chong's Next Movie. I'll be perfectly honest. I do love Cheech and Chong. I have never seen that one. That's one of the few movies that they made I've never seen. I have seen Nice Dreams, and Michael Winslow was in that too as a Superman nut. Oh God, he was actually in the animated film Heidi Song, which I probably am the only one left on the planet that actually remembers what the hell that is. He did contribute voices to the Mogwai, the Gremlins in Gremlins. He was also in Grandview USA, Love Lines, pretty much all the Police Academy movies. They made a New Kids on the Block television series, and he gave a voice for that. Now that's bizarre. And he was actually on the Police Academy series, which was from 97 and 98. He's done Robot Chicken. Yeah, and he's still with us. He's 63 years old. He turned 64 on September 6th. But yeah, here again, Michael Winslow is one of the few characters in this movie I do genuinely like. I mean, because like I said, I mean, sometimes he catches me off guard with some of the noises he makes. And you know what? That might be barely enough to say, okay, Police Academy, the first movie, made me laugh. I can't deny that now. So, but I'm still never going to return to this franchise ever again. So here we have Leslie Easterbrook, who, yeah, she was not in the second film. She didn't come back until the third film. But she's still with us. She also played Rhonda Lee on Laverne and Shirley. She is actually married to one of the MASH writers, Dan Wilcox. She is good friends with former police cast member Scott Thompson, was close friends with Marion Ramsey. Easterbrook describes the cast of the original as a big family. Aww. See, and when an actor says something like that, it's like, well, I can't hate Police Academy. I mean, I can't hate the fact that this movie and its franchise made a lot of people laugh. I can't hate it for that. I mean, yeah, I mean, like, okay, the video game, it's just so silly. I know that's the point, but I mean, with certain comedies, it's like, okay, I laughed one time at this. I'm probably never going to laugh at it again, even if I was going to watch this again. Now, I will say, admittedly, I have my own my own Police Academy, my alternative franchise when it comes to law enforcement in comedies, and that, of course, is Super Troopers. I am a huge fan of Super Troopers. Now, maybe it's because it just hit me at the right time. I saw it at 19. I saw it in the theater. I laughed my ass off. I love Broken Lizard. I think those guys are really wonderful. And I even liked the sequel. I even liked Super Troopers 2 when a lot of people really crapped on it. And a lot of people compare the original to the Police Academy movies. First of all, I have to seriously object to that. I mean, with all due respect to Police Academy fans who might think that. Totally different tones of comedy, totally different style of comedy. The Broken Lizard guys, I think their payoffs to jokes just hit better for me. And their camaraderie, that was probably my favorite thing about it. I mean, as a quintet, they work together so well. I don't like all the Police Academy characters. In fact, I actually don't really care for most of them. And if you like all 5 characters in a comedy, that's good enough. But I think that they're totally different franchises. I mean, Super Troopers are not even cops. They're the highway patrol. Now, they make fun of the cops a lot in the movie, but there's nothing even vaguely resembling, I think, Police Academy. I don't think there was even any inspiration on Broken Lizard's part when it came to when they made that movie. In fact, it was all inspired by, cops just fucking with like their buddies, when they like get stopped over for like, smoking weed or drinking or whatever the hell they are. I mean, going across the border, doing some crazy shit. That's where that came from. Police Academy came from a completely different inspiration, and I actually kind of I found this very very interesting. Here's what prompted Paul Maslansky to create this entire franchise, and I found this just a very interesting story. That maybe not exactly a funny story, but it is a very interesting story. Um, Producer Paul Maslansky got the idea for this movie during the production of The Right Stuff. And yes, I am doing an audio commentary for The Right Stuff very soon. Um, in fact, here's my Blu-ray book all ready to go. So trust me, Right Stuff is coming. But during the production of The Right Stuff, a group of police cadets arrived to help with crowd control for the filming of a street scene. When the cadets piled out of the buses to take their posts, they were diverse: men, women, tall, short, black, Asian. However, the cadets proved fumblingly inept at their assigned task of keeping members of the public away from the set. Maslansky witnessed an exasperated superior officer with a very red face chewing out two sputtering recruits, a lady weighing over 200 pounds and a flabby man of well over 50. Both were busily trying to rationalize their incompetence. Maslansky found it humorous, asking the sergeant, "Are these all going to be the future San Francisco's finest?" The sergeant told him they had an equal opportunity hiring policy. "We have to take anyone who applies into the academy for training, but we can flunk them out in 2 weeks." It started Maslansky thinking, what if they don't want to be flunked out? What if some guy or girl wants to stay in? That night, he wrote a 2-page treatment, gave it to executive producer Alan Ladd Jr., who loved the idea and agreed to develop the movie. I find that story, actually, I'll even go so far as to find that story a little fascinating. Uh, here again, Super Troopers and Police Academy, completely different sparks from different points of the country, completely separate from each other. So I want to put that argument to rest because I'm tired of people saying, "Oh yeah, they're just Police Academy." No, they're not. No, they're not. They have nothing to do with each other. So, okay, so this was the only Police Academy movie to be given an R rating, and also, of course, the most successful at the box office. And that's what I found, kind of interesting about this movie compared to some of the later ones, because I think with some of the later ones, with the clips I saw, they just got so juvenile and just ridiculously stupid. I mean, it almost felt like it was just getting worse with every clip. But yeah, this movie, it does have a bit of an edge to it as far as the humor is concerned. I mean, it doesn't go quite into Porky's territory or even Animal House. I mean, I think that, I mean, that's the thing, is that I remember, I think it was Steve Guttenberg or somebody said that, this was like a light version of a raunchy comedy. And I can totally understand where he's coming from. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like but here again, there's also something that just comes off as so generic about this movie and ultimately the franchise as a whole. It it feels, I mean, it honestly does feel like that it was just, a bunch of guys got into a room and thought, okay, we got these police recruits. I mean, we got to give all these characters like distinctive, we got to give them all distinctive traits and, eccentricities. And that's where the laughs is going to come from. That's where the comedy will ultimately find itself. And depending upon who we cast, well, there you go. And you just go off and run with it. And the writers behind Police Academy was actually a pretty interesting bunch because, well, first of all, we have director Hugh Wilson, no longer with us. I believe he passed away. Yeah, he passed away in 2018, very, very sadly. Died in Charlottesville, Virginia, age 74. He won a Primetime Emmy Award for Frank's Place in 1987, but he was also nominated for awards for like WKRP in Cincinnati, a number of sitcoms. And their first assignment, which is the next film, like I said, tomorrow night at 1 a.m., that one is pretty much taken over by like SNL alumni. We'll get to that when we get to it. But so Hugh Wilson only had 17 credits as a director, with Police Academy being the well, it says that he did a movie in 72 called The Bagel Report. I'm not going to bother with that. But Police Academy was really his first mainstream studio film. After that, he directed Burglar with Whoopi Goldberg, which was a massive flop from what I remember, both with the critics and at the box office. But then he actually kind of came around in the 90s and directed some really congenial, comedies like Guarding Tess with Nicolas Cage and Shirley MacLaine, which I remember being quite cute. I mean, maybe nothing special, but I remember that being actually fairly cute. The First Wives Club with Goldie Hawn and Bette Midler, a very popular comedy. Then he did my absolute favorite film in his entire resume, which, look, here again, I love Paul Maslansky for producing Return to Oz. Well, I love Hugh Wilson for directing and co-writing this film from 1999 called Blast from the Past. Brendan Fraser, Alicia Silverstone. Yeah, this kid grows up in a fallout shelter with his parents, played by Christopher Walken and Sissy Spacek. And he finally leaves the ground for the first time in his life as a 35-year-old in LA and falls in love with Alicia Silverstone. It is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful romantic comedy. I think it's an absolute gem, and for my money, Hugh Wilson's best film, regardless. Oh, yeah, I'd like to say hi to Jamie real quick. Lovely to see you. Hope you're having a great morning. And yeah, wonderful. Glad you could make it. Just to give everybody a timestamp, we are coming up on 37 minutes. 37 minutes in Police Academy, if you want to join in. So Blast from the Past is hands down my favorite Hugh Wilson movie. Hands down. After that, he also did Dudley Do Right. Yeah, he directed and co-wrote that, and went back with Brendan Fraser. I'll be perfectly honest, I've never seen Dudley Do Right. And even the reviews for it were really horrible, too. After that, he didn't do much. I mean, he wrote and directed a film called The Contender, not the one with Jeff Bridges and I forget her name. No, this is a television movie about a prep school senior from a wealthy family who turns down college to pursue a career as a professional boxer. That was one of his last credits, and he also did a documentary short in 2012 and then passed away in 2018. Although he was also responsible for the story and the screenplay for Down Periscope. And I can tell you right now, despite the fact I have 8 years of Navy experience, I can tell you right now, I have never liked Down Periscope. I am not ashamed to say that. I have never laughed at it. No, I'm sorry, I didn't. See, here again, like with Police Academy, I just didn't laugh for some odd reason. Maybe I was thinking about something else. Maybe it was just the wrong day. I don't know. So Hugh Wilson has kind of had a lot of ups and downs in his career. Some of his movies made a lot of money, like Police Academy. But I don't know. I just don't understand why he didn't come back to direct the sequel when he thought that would have been a serious paycheck for him. I certainly would have done it. And also, I mean, it would have been nice to have kept that Hugh Wilson touch. I think, because if the first movie is the best one, which, yeah, it is, relatively speaking, of course, it is the best, then, yeah, why not keep that Hugh Wilson touch? But he never came back and directed another Police Academy movie. No, he did Down Periscope instead. Okay, now okay, now this is the legendary and the very lovely Kim Cattrall. I do like Kim Cattrall a lot. I'm actually quite a fan of hers. It's only in the past year where I finally watched every single episode of Sex and the City. So believe me, I am, but I've always had a crush on her, kind of, because I mean, I did like her in Porky's, but I hate to say it, most people know her from the original Porky's and the original Police Academy. I know her best from actually Lieutenant Valeris, the Vulcan in Star Trek Six: The Undiscovered Country, which is actually one of the best Star Trek movies, and she's really good in it. Although it's actually a little obvious that her character was supposed to be a previous character, and for questionable reasons, they changed the name of the character. But outside of that, and of course, she was also in Big Trouble in Little China, which I haven't seen in a while, and I need to see it again. That is one movie that has, John Carpenter fans adore that movie with a passion, and I have not seen it nearly as much as them. I need to see Big Trouble in Little China again eventually, but hey, it's got Kim Cattrall and Kurt Russell. I can't pass that up. Now, she was also in Mannequin, which is a film I will never, ever watch again, needless to say. She was also in Bonfire of the Vanities. She was in Split Second, that alien movie with Rutger Hauer. Unforgettable, Live Nude Girls. She was actually in Baby Geniuses. Ooh. Thank God she got Sex in the City right after that. Yeah, but she's primarily known as Samantha Jones on Sex in the City, although to an 80s audience, we'll always remember her from Porky's, Police Academy, and Big Trouble in Little China. And I must say that even though what I will conclude with, when it comes to Kim Cattrall, I've seen the new Sex and the City series called, what is it? Oh, God. And, it's Anne something. God. Killing me now. And Just Like That. That's the name of it. Okay. I watched the entire first season of And Just Like That. And as most fans know, Samantha Jones, played by Kim Cattrall, did not come back and join the quartet. They say that supposedly, according to who you talk to, that she's had a long-standing feud with Sarah Jessica Parker, played by Carrie Bradshaw, and that the primary reason why she didn't come back was because she couldn't work with her ever again. Well, and yet they kind of incorporate Samantha Jones into the story. I'm not exactly going to give it away, but what I will say is that, did I miss her character? I did, but I didn't. And on top of all that, I actually thought this new season was okay. I can see why a lot of Sex and the City fans decided to turn it off, because I hate that term woke now, but I mean, there was all this anger and resentment. And I was like, oh, the show's gotten too woke and whatever. I didn't think it was terrible. I didn't think it was that bad, actually. It throws the books and they went out the way. That's another time I laughed. I will here again. 5, 6 laughs, and I'm being a little bit generous. But yeah, to me, Police Academy has about 5 or 6 laughs. There was another one right there when they take the books and throw it out the window, but the window is closed. But it only shows how much idiots these guys are. So, Kim Cattrall is never going to come back to the Sex and the City universe. She has nothing left to prove. As far as I'm concerned. And, and I always suspected that there was some kind of divide only because she's 10 years older than the other 3. I've always sensed there was kind of an imbalance there somewhere. I still love her character. I still love all four of those women, in that show. The movies I don't like. The first movie was okay. The second one was pretty awful. Embarrassingly awful. Uh, although, to be perfectly honest, I think I'd rather watch Sex in the City 2 than some of the Police Academy sequels. Hey, big boy, why don't you come up and see me sometime? Like, yeah, I got it. I don't know. And see, and that's the thing. You can't hate a movie like this because it just wants to make people laugh. It just wants people to have a good time. I respect that. I understand that, you know, I wouldn't say I'm in the minority when it comes to these films, but honestly, I mean, you have to have just a certain comic wavelength to get. You have to get on a certain comic wavelength to really get into these films. I mean, yeah, Hightower, I don't mind Hightower. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, these characters, they just don't do much for me, no matter what ridiculous thing they do. So, I mean, like when I first saw this bit, I was thinking, oh, okay, yeah, here we go. They're going to try to build it and build it and build it. And it's like, I don't know. It just felt like it built to nothing. It's like, okay, let's just let's just keep going with this and see if people do actually respond to it. I mean, look, I wouldn't be surprised if there were people laughing on the set. I mean, considering they say it was one big family, I'm inclined to believe that, this was probably a very happy production. It's a very, it's, and see, here's where this came out the same year as Hard Bodies. I don't know who remembers those, but, there was a barrage of like, teen sex comedies. Back here in this day and age in 1984, I mean, you had to fast forward on the VCR until you actually found nudity. And of course, you were trying to do it behind your parents' back and everything. And this is a perfect example. Now, this can easily be edited for television. In fact, I can definitely see why. I don't know. Did they do TBS marathons of this or something? I mean, I know they did marathons, I'm sure. I just don't remember which channel or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, you could easily trim the first movie. I mean, it's not like it's not any great challenge. I mean, basically, you would just jump over these nude scenes, even though the nude scenes are, part of the highlights of the movie. And look, Kim Cattrall is beautiful. She is absolutely gorgeous, and Steve Guttenberg is a lucky guy. But then again, after this movie, Kim Cattrall never returned to the series. She never came back, not even for a cameo. No, I mean, she did Big Trouble in Little China, Star Trek II, The Undiscovered Country, and other films, and yeah, and then of course Sex in the City. That's what she's become synonymous for is Samantha Jones. I think it's safe for me to say, yeah, Samantha Jones, one of the quintessential milfs of the small screen. Yeah. Uh, so let's do a timestamp. Where are we on this? We're 48 minutes. We're 48 minutes into Police Academy. And here again, I mean, let's see. All right, now as far as the other characters are concerned, because I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not an because of the fact I'm not an expert, I still have a little bit of difficulty distinguishing who's really who, because admittedly, this has a large cast. I mean, okay, so let's talk about Hightower. All right, so Bubba Smith is an American football defensive end. First came into prominence at Michigan State University, where he twice earned All-American honors on the Spartans football team. First selection of the 67 NFL draft, played 9 years in the NFL with the Baltimore Colts, the Oakland Raiders, and the Houston Oilers. Now, that puts a smile on my face, actually, because I got to admit, back when I watched football, I actually rooted for the Oilers, only because I liked their helmet more than any other team. I know that, the most ridiculous reason in the world, but it's true. So I don't think I saw any of his games because he stopped playing in the 70s. But for about a decade following his retirement from football, he appeared in various commercials for Miller Lite and is best known as Moses Hightower in the first 6 Police Academy movies. Smith was posthumously diagnosed with CTE, a neurological condition generally related to concussion and subconcussive head trauma. Yeah. He passed away in 2011 at the age of 66. 6'7" tall, was an NFL champion in 1968, two-time All-American 65 and 66. So yeah, he had quite the football career. Did he do anything else outside of the Police Academy movies, though? Yeah, he did some stuff. I mean, mostly television stuff. Like he was in Vegas, Wonder Woman, Blue Thunder, the show, not the movie. Black Moon Rising. He actually did that movie with Tommy Lee Jones. He appears in Gremlins 2. That's right. Yeah, the gremlin was actually pulling one of theirs tie. I mean, you see him for a split second, but he's actually in Gremlins 2, the new batch, and he was on Who's the Boss, Coach, shows like that. And he would usually just do one episode and never be heard from again. Actually, he did several Married with Children episodes. Huh. So yeah. But yeah, unfortunately, he died from acute drug intoxication and heart disease. Wow. Smith is the 90th former NFL player found to have had CTE by the researchers at the Boston University Brain Bank. They have examined 94 former pro players, and according to the Concussion Legacy Foundation, on a scale of 1 to 4 used by the neuropathologists to examine Smith's brain, Smith had a stage 3 CTE with symptoms including cognitive impairment and problems with judgment and planning. Really, really sad. Really, really sad. Okay, so as Cadet Leslie Barbara, we have Donovan Scott, who is still with us. Scott also appeared in the music video for Olivia Newton-John's 1981 hit Physical, co-starred in Lucille Ball's 1986 ABC TV series Life with Lucy. In the Police Academy movies, he's just in the first one. He plays Cadet Leslie Barbara in the first one. That's his only movie. Okay, now here's some other interesting tidbits about Police Academy. Dom DeLuise was considered to direct the film, but he was unavailable. Hugh Wilson was hired as director based on his success with WKRP in Cincinnati. Okay. Producer Paul Maslansky said that Wilson took a lot of the vulgarity out. Some of the things considered unnecessary. I worried that it was becoming more homogenized, and I told Hugh, let's keep some of the flatulence in. Okay, so that actually makes a lot of sense. Hugh Wilson said, I found out that the shower scene, the party scene, and the fellatio scene were obligatory. Fellatio scene? Yeah. I had to put them in, so I was stuck with trying to make those scenes as artistic as possible. According to the LA Times, about 20 of the major elements in the movie remain from the Israel Pat Proft script. Yeah, Pat Proft is a comedy writer who worked a lot with the Zucker brothers. They co-wrote the Naked Gun movies actually together. And Neil Israel is an interesting case in that he co-wrote Bachelor Party. And then eventually he got married to Amy Heckerling, who directed Fast Times at Ridgemont High and had a daughter with her. In fact, their daughter inspired the movie Look Who's Talking, which came out in 1989. And he co-wrote the sequel to that, Look Who's Talking 2. Opening scenes to the movie were shot in Toronto, Ontario. The camera booth scene was shot on the Cherry Street Bridge in Toronto. Yeah, I'm not going to read any more of that. Okay. Now, I know that Hugh Wilson appears as the pissed off driver in this movie, which I forget where that scene is, but but yeah, look, let's keep it straight here. Police Academy was very much hated by critics. I mean, critics were here again. I think it's tad harsh. I do admit I have to be, disrespectful of the first movie in that, there's nothing particularly wrong with it. I mean, whether it makes you laugh or not just depends on your comedy tastes. But the critics, I don't know. They just, none of them laughed. Roger Ebert said he didn't laugh once, but here again, that happened to me too. So I can stipulate to that. Maybe it's just because, maybe it's just because of the fact that this movie lacks like any like real sophistication. I mean, I would prefer this would be a satire. I wish it was a satire of like, actual police academies, but that's where we get into some controversial topics, and that's why I was going to wait till Police Academy 2, their first assignment, to talk about that. But I really do wish that this had more bite to it. Okay, so the police recruits are, idiots, and they have all these eccentricities. Okay, but there's hardly a story here. I mean, there's not really it. It's one of those things where these group of writers, they got together, threw all these ideas in this script, and hey, Cornelius. Hey, lovely to see you, sir. Lovely to see you. Timestamp real quick. We are 56 minutes and 30 seconds into the original Police Academy. See, that's the thing. A lot of the jokes that I recognize in this movie, I just like, yeah, I got it. Yeah. But look, you got to understand is that when I was like 10, 11 years old, I was finding Chaplin and Keaton funny. This stuff I wasn't finding funny. Love this movie. Yeah, I mean, look, Police Academy has its fans, and I have nothing but love and respect for those fans. I don't find these movies particularly funny, but there's nothing really particularly wrong with them either. I mean, I wish the first film was more edgier. I wish it was more edgy. I wish there was more satire. I wish I wish it really, really showed, what these police academies would really be, really are like, which here again would be controversial. But, in this day and age, maybe that's part of the reason why they're having difficulty doing a new one. I mean, but here again, I'm not gonna dive into that until we get to the sequel, because here again, I do have enough respect for this first feature that I can't criticize it too much. And I'm not doing that to kowtow to fans. Cornelius, you love this movie, brother. I love you for loving this movie. This is just not my cup of comedic tea. It's just not. It was not my cup when I was a kid, and it's definitely not my cup now. But here again, I am glad that I'm doing this commentary because I have so much respect for the producer and so much respect for the director and, of course, the Ladd Company. But, of course, okay, here's the irony, because this movie, let's talk about the Ladd Company now, because Police Academy was essentially one of the last movies. Now, in 1981 and 1982, they did have some mild hits, like Blade Runner and Night Shift made a little bit of money, but then again, they also had a couple of films from 1982 that made absolutely no money and they bombed. Same thing with the films they put out in 1983. Star 80, The Right Stuff, which is a film that they lost a lot of money. A lot of the money was lost actually in The Right Stuff. And when that movie failed to make its budget back, the failure of the Right Stuff is essentially why the Ladd Company failed. Because Police Academy, when this came out and it made $150 million, it was just too late. It was just too late. And unfortunately, the Ladd Company kind of had a premature death at that point. And that's the thing. I really wish the movie would have saved the company. Like, I know it's weird saying that about a production company, but I mean, so far I've really liked a lot of the Ladd Company releases. And then you get to something like Police Academy. And like I said, my attitude was, let's get this over with so I don't have to worry about it again. Because going back to these movies, it's not that I wasn't looking forward to them. It was just kind of like, okay, I admit there's enough I can talk about with the first two films. There's enough I can talk about that, I would be perfectly fine doing commentaries on these, even though I'm ironically not a fan of these movies. Yeah, I really like George Gaines in Tootsie. That was the film I saw him like 1,000 times in. But yeah, going back to what the critical reaction was, because Police Academy the critics just hated it. Now, in recent years, it has much more of a mixed assessment, the first film. Not so much a cult to it, but at the same time, I mean, people look back on the original and think, many of these critics, they look back on the original and are like, yeah, it's okay. It's kind of a meh kind of feeling about it. But Roger Ebert gave it 0 stars out of 4. It's really something. It's so bad. Maybe you should pool your money and draw straws and send one of the guys off to rent it so that in the future, whenever you think you're sitting through a bad comedy, he could shake his head and chuckle tolerantly and explain that you don't know what bad is. Ebert's 0 stars review of the film became famous because, unlike many other films he gave 0-star ratings to, including I Spit on Your Grave and Freddy Got Fingered, he did not state that Police Academy was diseased or morally deficient. He simply found it to be a comedy nadir that not only had no laughs, but didn't seem to be trying to make people laugh. Gene Siskel also hated the film, noted that the movie had a lot of what looked like setups for jokes and punchlines, but would then not have either of them. I don't think he's wrong. I think he's harsh, but I don't think he's wrong. Vincent Canby of the New York Times gave a more mixed review, saying the movie plows through one outrageous sequence to the next with the momentum of a freight train. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it goes that fast. But Rita Kempley of the Washington Post wrote, "Attention all units. Slapstick in progress in the vicinity of Police Academy. Suspects wanted for mugging the camera and possession of nightsticks with intent to incite a laugh riot. Please respond to this blues burlesque, a uniformly funny hit sure to have a long run. Its target audience, those who can take their TNA with a grain of salt. Its plot, a combo of Animal House and An Officer and a Gentleman. It stars a rainbow coalition of hot newcomers and dependable, unexpendable pros." You know what? I think Canby nailed it a lot more than Siskel and Ebert ever did. I think Canby pretty much nailed it right there. Producer Paul Maslansky says that original feedback on the film was that it was not gross enough. "What are you trying to do? Make a damn Tootsie?" said one executive. "Paul, it doesn't fit the formula. It needs more flatulence, more slobbishness, more TNA." But of course, I mean, this was also about the time when they were trying to calm down from that stuff. Maybe because of the, STDs, AIDS scare. Movies had started to settle down with those kind of elements at this point. Wait a minute, is this the scene with the director? Always shocks me The Right Stuff underperformed. Big fan of it, and its cast. Everyone I knew at the time loved it too. Yeah. It's one of the Lad Company's best movies. But then we also have, after Police Academy, we have Once Upon a Time in America. And trust me, it may be a 4-hour movie, but there's going to be a lot to say about that. Trust me. So, Right Stuff commentary coming, and Once Upon a Time in America coming. I'm actually going to talk about that movie for 4 hours. The only other thing I'll say about Once Upon a Time in America right now is that yesterday I actually found where I can watch the notorious Lad Company cut, which ran 139 minutes in theaters and completely butchered what Sergio Leone had created. So trust me, when I do the commentary, I'm going to talk a lot about the differences, because they are indeed vast. Hightower. Now, see, just to go back to this real quick. And also, one more time, thank you for everybody joining me tonight. I mean, here again, I knew that these 1 a.m. commentaries were going to be different, but I'm actually looking forward to it. I mean, I'm going to be doing a lot of 1 a.m. commentaries of movies that are like 90 minutes, maybe a little less than 2 hours. And, obviously big films like The Right Stuff and Once Upon a Time in America will be saved for Saturdays or Sundays. So, just to throw out a few other trivia bits real quick. After early test audiences responded most positively to Hightower out of all the characters, Bubba Smith was moved to second billing just behind Steve Guttenberg. Director Hugh Wilson stated that when it came time to film the driving scene with Hightower at 2:30 a.m., the actor originally cast as the angry driver was found passed out drunk in the trailer. So Hugh Wilson himself ended up playing the role of the angry driver who Hightower crashes into. Yeah, you're doing beautiful. I got to admit that I do like the Goot a little bit more. I mean, I don't find him unlikable. I just find him. Oh, okay. So here is Hugh Wilson as the angry the angry driver. That's Hugh Wilson right there. You dumb shit. Okay. When attending his audition, Steve Guttenberg wore an old police shirt belonging to his father, Stanley Guttenberg, who was a New York City police officer. Oh, cool. In the DVD making of documentary, Marion Ramsey says she came up with Hooks' voice by reading the description of her character in the script and recalling the time she met Michael Jackson, who attended a stage production of Little Shop of Horrors that Marion was performing in. The voice is a parody of Jackson. Oh, she also recalls that in the moment where Hooks exclaims, "Don't move, dirtbag," the sound techs were used to recording the meek voice and were surprised when she said the line so loud. I actually did like that bit too. I mean, here again, there's little bits scattered throughout Police Academy, the first one, that I can appreciate. Yeah, I can laugh at, but surrounding it, there's just too much dumb. This was too much dumb for me. Okay, I gotta be honest here. There's just a bit too much dumb. The term tackleberry has become a standard in the private security industry to denote an officer who is inordinately fond of firearms and other high-tech equipment. I'm going to remember that for my commentary tomorrow. In the party scene, Tackleberry is seen to play a saxophone. In real life, David Graff was actually an accomplished saxophone player. Ah, okay. Steve Guttenberg said of Mahoney in a 1984 interview, quote, "I think he's a party guy. He doesn't really know what he is going to do with his life, but it's kind of hard to talk about him because he's not exactly a deep character. I really hate when actors get interviewed and they just started a Love Boat or something and they go on for a month about motivation and character analysis. Police Academy set out to be a light entertainment, and that's what it is." Mm-hmm. I can't disagree with that either. The shoe polish on the megaphone originated from a prank played on British director Michael Winner on the set of one of his movies. Hugh Wilson decided to use the gag after he heard the story from a crew member. Even though Stakeout came out 3 years after Police Academy, I got to say I like that version of the gag a little bit more, but that's just me. Michael Winslow, David Graff, and George Gaines are the only actors who appeared in all 7 Police Academy movies. Winslow goes a step beyond this, as he is the only actor who not only appeared in all 7 of them, but also had a regular role in Police Academy, the series. Okay. Regularly played on television in the UK during the Christmas period. So in the United Kingdom, Police Academy is a Christmas movie. The film's only Christmas reference is the tune heard during Hooks' driving test. Santa Claus is coming to town. All right, now this I liked. This former U.S. President Bill Clinton once told Steve Guttenberg that this was one of his favorite movies, and that watching the films helped him through a difficult time, presumably when he was undergoing heavy media scrutiny during the Monica Lewinsky scandal. He also stated during the speech at the 2016 Democratic National Convention that his wife Hillary had found his parenting choices questionable after he watched 6 Police Academy movies back to back with daughter Chelsea. That's funnier than anything in the movie. While filming the obstacle course scene, the first man to scale the wall propelled himself so high that he broke one of his lower limbs upon landing. Pay close attention to the scene where Barbara is floating downriver in the camera booth. Before he passes under the bridge, the booth almost flips over. That was not planned. It really did almost flip over. Steve Guttenberg mentions in his biography, The Guttenberg Bible, that Donovan Scott shot home movies during filming. According to Guttenberg, there is a very funny, touching, and unreleased documentary that he made of the shoot. Some of this footage will be seen publicly for the first time in the documentary What an Institution, the Story of Police Academy. And he said he got to keep the one in the oven shirt that he wore in the movie. Oh, great. In the cast commentary, it's revealed that Larvell Jones was not in the original script. The part was immediately written for Michael Winslow after Hugh Wilson and the casting directors saw him open for Count Basie. Okay. According to the cast and filmmaker commentary, it was producer Alan Ladd Jr. who came up with the idea of having Mahoney be the recipient of the podium gag at the end, after watching dailies of Lasser's podium scene. Wow. Prior to making this movie, Paul Maslansky had produced 24 films without a solid hit. This movie earned as much money for the Ladd Company as it lost on its preceding film, The Right Stuff. At the time, Maslansky said, "At last, I don't have to worry about my children's education." Bless that man's heart. Yeah, bless that man's heart. You know what? Now I'm glad, very glad that Police Academy was a success for him. The original VHS release of Police Academy sold 107,000 copies in the first week of release. Wow. This combined with the $82 million the movie earned in domestic ticket sales prompted Warner Brothers to greenlight Police Academy 2 and several sequels. When Michael Winslow is knocked out of the door and tumbles down the stairs, he sits up and mimics some video game sounds. The game sounds he is mimicking are those from Pac-Man. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I'll wait till we get to that part when we get to it. But okay, so we're at 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 30 seconds. We have approximately 22 minutes left to go in Police Academy. Anybody in the chat, please let me know any other thoughts or anything else you'd like to share on the movie, as I very much like to hear it and share it as always. I do have a marginal amount of respect for Police Academy now. Okay, I don't find it very funny, but I do have a marginal amount of respect for it. At this point, it's just not a movie I can invest in. It's not a movie I can watch again. And believe me, when I watch the sequel tomorrow, that's pretty much going to be the end of the road for me as far as Police Academy movies. I'll probably only be able to do 2 of them without going nuts. But who knows? You know what? Maybe in the future, maybe next year, if I actually have a patron or something up and somebody wants me to do Police Academy 3 Back in Training, I guess I'll have no choice but to do Police Academy 3 Back in Training. But right now I'm busy. I'm a little too busy with the other Lad Company films. And of course, I'm still doing my 50th anniversary commentaries from 1972. So, yeah. I don't need to do any more Police Academies. Let's see. What other things here? The name of the city where the film takes place is never mentioned. Michael Winslow is said to have performed the sound effects for the sirens, among other sound effects for the film. Though Doug Lennox's character is listed in the end credits as main bad guy, the script refers to the character as SOB. Okay. Oscar winner Tom Hanks admitted to Kevin Pollak in an interview that he had auditioned for the film and was completely turned down by the producers. While he stated that he had auditioned for any part in the film, he was probably more suited for the Mahoney role. Yeah, I would say so. Additionally, during the 1980s, Hanks and Guttenberg were frequently compared to each other. Now, that I can see as well. Yeah, I think that Hanks, I think Bachelor Party, which Neil Israel co-wrote as well, I think that was the probably the better pick for him. Composer Robert Folk based the main Police Academy theme on the theme from Stripes. The riot scene compositions were inspired by Hill Street Blues. And during filming of the rooftop scene where Harris and Mahoney are being held hostage, Bubba Smith was asked by Hugh Wilson to open his mouth a little bit to make his cheeks and lips quiver for the line, "I want to watch you off these pigs." However, Smith would not open his mouth much. When Wilson asked why, Smith responded that he had a gap in his front teeth. Wilson started laughing, revealing his own gap to be twice as big. Smith said that he would try it, and his gap ended up becoming one of Hightower's trademarks. If you look at Leslie Easterbrook's police shirt, you'll see it's for a man, not a woman. Okay. And the robber towards the end of the film, who takes the cadet's pistols, wears a beanie hat with a maroon and blue Pegasus badge on the front. This is the badge of the British Army Airborne Forces, the Paras. Okay. And I don't know if this is a little dubious. I'm not sure if I buy this, but Kim Cattrall has often said that of all her movies, this is her favorite. Most critics agree that it is her best work. Really? Do they see Star Trek Six, the Undiscovered Country? Uh, well, she's probably more proud of Police Academy than she is of Porky's or Mannequin, for that matter. I mean, did anybody find Mannequin funny? Anybody? Did anybody find Mannequin funny? I don't think so. I mean, Police Academy made people laugh. I know, but yeah, Mannequin, I don't think made anybody laugh. Absolutely. Here are all the rioters. I think that's about it as far as the cast are concerned. I'm sure I missed a few here, though. Beep, 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 beep. I think I pretty much mentioned everybody. Well, except for the last one. There's one more at the end that I was going to mention that is a kind of a weird cameo of sorts. But the producers considered Michael Keaton, Tom Hanks, and Judge Reinhold for the role of Carrie Mahoney. Bruce Willis auditioned for the role of Carrie Mahoney. Now, can you imagine Bruce Willis in this role? No, seriously, can you actually picture Bruce Willis headlining Police Academy? Yeah, one of those what ifs. Now, one thing I almost forgot to mention also is that stuntman Dar Robinson appears as a plaid thug, and also actor John Hawkes, the widely acclaimed actor John Hawkes, appeared in this film as the Teskey truck driver. This was well, this is weird. It's not in his official filmography, but he is in the credits for Police Academy. I guess this is his first film. It says here his first film role was in Future Kill. Now, he might have been deleted from Police Academy because I don't remember the Teskey truck driver, to be perfectly honest. I mean, can anybody confirm with me on that if John Hawkes is really in this movie as a Teskey truck driver? Because I honestly missed him if he was. But yeah, tomorrow when we do Police Academy 2, their first assignment, I'm going to try to talk about everything I thought of the sequels, which I'm here again. I'm not really going to watch the sequels as opposed to just watch clips of them. Because I think I can only take like a 15 or 20-minute reel of the sequels rather than I'd rather watch them like because that's the thing about the Police Academy movies. They're basically 80, 90-minute sitcoms. You know, this is totally a sitcom. That's why I'm actually kind of surprised that the TV series, of course, bombed. But I can definitely see a TV show here. You know, something like what is it? Like Car 54, Where Are You? Or like one of those type of shows. Or what is that stupid Reno 911? Yeah, Reno 911. I mean, I could definitely see this be a successful show. Because these characters are just more appropriate, I think, for television sitcoms than a movie like this. But yeah, I prefer to watch the sequels as if they were like episodes of a television sitcom. So that's why I'm only going to watch like 20 minutes each of them, and I'll be able to talk about all of them during the Police Academy 2, their first assignment commentary. Oh, now G.W. Bailey, I haven't really talked about him yet because he did not come back for the second movie as Lieutenant Thaddeus Harris. In fact, my bad. He is in the second film uncredited as a wedding guest. I'll point him out when I get to it. But he wasn't in Police Academy 3, and he really didn't come back until Police Academy 4, and then he was also in 5 and 6. He was also in the War and Remembrance television series, really huge thing in the 1980s. He did shows like Laverne and Shirley, Chips, How the West Was Won. Um, and he did a few other movies like Q&A, like he did an episode of Nip Tuck. And he's still with us. He's still with us at 77 years old. So he was pretty much in all the films except for the third film. And even in the second film, he's only seen like his back shoulder because his picture is being taken. So here we are coming up on the final 10 minutes of Police Academy. Admittedly, I kind of lost my place here, but look up there. That looks like Harris up there. Should we shoot back? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, anybody who's still in the chat, let me know what your favorite Police Academy is or favorite character, for that matter. I'm actually very interested. I'm actually very interested in see what you guys' favorite characters would be. I mean, my favorite character is probably Michael Winslow, but only because he makes me laugh the most. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm tempted to say Kim Cattrall. I'm really tempted to say Kim Cattrall, but but yeah, like I said before, these are like 90-minute episodes of a television show. They just happen to have these big feature films, that happen to have made a lot of money. Actually, tomorrow during my part 2 commentary, I will provide the exact numbers of like how much, budget to box office. Be very interested to see, because I'm telling you, it's also the Police Academy series is also an interesting case of diminishing returns, as we will soon find out tomorrow. Yeah, nice try. I mean, but I mean, maybe I just can't help but, say, well, look, if a police force was this inept, I mean, they would have been overcome by the crime already. And let's see. Oh, okay. I think I will also mention there's only about 8 minutes left. But I will also mention that the let's see, edited by Zach Steinberg. I mean, that's the thing. There's not much else left to say at this point. That's why I'm asking people in the chat. Help me out here. Throw me something. Throw me a bone here. Like what else about Pat Proft? This was actually his first film as a writer, because he also co-wrote Bachelor Party with Neil Israel. He also co-wrote Real Genius, Naked Gun 2.5, Hot Shots, and Hot Shots Part 2. Yeah, I do know his name from the Hot Shots movies as well. But he only co-wrote the first Police Academy. See, that's what I'm saying. Police Academy 2, they basically just give the franchise over to these SNL writers. And that's where, of course, the series, I think, plunges to, unsalvageable territory. But anyway, like I said, we'll get to that tomorrow. We'll definitely get to that tomorrow. And Pat Proft also co-wrote all the Scary Movies 3, 4, and 5, as well as Wrongfully Accused and Mr. Magoo. In fact, Wrongfully Accused, that was a pretty bad fugitive spoof with Leslie Nielsen. They tried, but yeah, it was pretty Pretty pathetic. That was actually one of Leslie Nielsen's last movies, sadly. Harris is my favorite. He adopts a Frank Burns vibe that works, and I've always liked the actor. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, G.W. Bailey, yeah. Thaddeus Harris. Mm-hmm. Yep. And yeah, I mean, we're coming up on 1 hour and 30 minutes here. Here again, if anybody can confirm for me real quick if John Hawkes is seriously in this movie, let me know now, because if he is, he was either cut or he appears so quickly that you miss him. But he's actually, I mean, that's what I'm saying. He was Oscar nominated for like what was it, that movie with Jennifer Lawrence, Winter's Bone. But he was also in like Marcy May Marlene, some other good ones. Really come into his own as an actor. But it's actually kind of questionable. If he was in this film, it would have been his film debut. Sergeant Debbie Callahan. You men, stop that. Yes. Yeah, that's more like it, Mahoney. Oh yeah, the other part that I laughed at, and like I said, I laughed like 5 or 6 times. When he gets to know the guy with all the women and his girlfriends, is like, "Hey, I'm gonna hang out with you, man. You got a lot of girlfriends." Well, either that, or he wants to get into orgies. I could tell you many, 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 many stories, but I have a presentation to make. And see, that's another thing, is that this movie just doesn't end on a particularly, I don't think, satisfying note, in my opinion. I don't think it has a punch at the end, really. I mean, the final joke, it just doesn't work for me at all. So here again, to sum up, I do think that the critics were too harsh, but I'm still not a fan of the movie. It has its fans. I respect and love them. They can enjoy these movies, all day and all night. I don't know. It's just, to me, the first film, it has its moments, it has its bits that are memorable, a little bit memorable. I mean, I just can't even go so far as to call it a mixed bag. It's just kind of flat for me as a comedy. It just doesn't quite get there. It doesn't quite get there. Yeah, I love Hightower just saying thanks. I love it when he says that too. Now, there's a hooker that appears that's actually adult film star Georgina Spelvin, and I think we saw her in the barracks earlier. But yeah, she was in The Devil and Miss Jones, the golden age of porn. Yeah, it just ends on a very, like, whatever. Look, here again, I'm glad I did this. Look, I actually have somewhat of a respect for the first film now. It works for a lot of people. It just doesn't work for me. And because of the fact I have nothing but love and respect for the producer and the director, and some of the actors here, I just, it's one of those things where I'm glad that people enjoy it, and that there's anything particularly wrong with the series. I just don't find them all that funny. And like I said, tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more during Police Academy 2. Some other stuff that I want to talk about that I think is important to note. And I think maybe part of the reason why I don't really find these movies funny, aside from the fact that I just think that they overdose on dumb too much. But like I said, come around 1 a.m. tomorrow night and we'll talk about Police Academy 2, their first assignment. and essentially talk about all the other sequels, even though I'm only going to be watching clips of them. But as soon as I finish Police Academy 2, I'm done. I don't need any more Police Academy in my life. I mean, bless Michael Winslow, yeah, Steve Guttenberg is a little bit likable, and the cast, they have their quirks, they have their eccentricities, and it's just not a series I can ever return to ever again. I got a too big list of other movies to worry about, but I'm still glad I did this. I'm still very glad I did this commentary. Hey, what's up, Dan? Hey, we just reached the end of Police Academy. We're in the end credits right now. Yeah, I mean, this is only a 96-minute movie. It moves along at a clip. Admittedly, I mean, I didn't, my mind didn't exactly wander, but it's just meh. It's just meh at best for me. She's in my corner. I'm going to be somebody performed by Jack Mack and the Heart Attack. Now, let me say about Jack Mack and the Heart Attack that I remember them from another soundtrack called, what is it, Tough Turf, with James Spader. And there's another song in here, which actually, screw it, I'll even just go back. Relax by Frankie Goes to Hollywood. I actually prefer the movie Gotcha. I thought it actually, oh my God, there's another Jack Mack and the Heart Attack movie here? True Lovin' Woman. Okay. El Bimbo, performed by Jean-Marc Dampierre and his orchestra. And Will You Love Me Tomorrow, performed by the Shrills, which I remember more from Dirty Dancing than I do from Police Academy. So, but yeah, that is the 1984 comedy Police Academy. It has its fans. I have nothing but love and respect for them. And here again, admittedly, after doing this commentary, I'm walking away from this movie with a marginal amount of respect. So, at any rate, thank you so much, everybody, for coming out tonight. Just a quick shout out, finally, Jay, the Stingray, glad to see you, sir. Dan Shine, Rob Gasper, Cornelius, Cliff Booth, Jamie, and yeah, thank you so much all for coming out. I will see you all tomorrow night at 1 a.m. for Police Academy 2, The First Assignment.